Concerns about embryo screening. The first thing to think about is that it comes with a risk of miscarriage. The procedure is used to harvest the cells from a fetus, such as amniocentesis, increase the risk of a miscarriage because essentially they involve inserting a needle that could hit the fetus and kill it. And a healthy fetus might have been miscarried as a result of a fault that happened in a test. Second, we have false positives or negatives. Sometimes screening procedures, even though they are constantly being advanced and becoming more and more accurate with time, they still have their errors. They can give false positives or give false negatives. If they give a false positive, that means they give a false positive result that the child is carrying a defective allele, while the child is actually not carrying a defective allele. So the parents might decide to abort the fetus while it was actually healthy. And it might give a false negative, and when it gives a false negative, it means that the screen result says that the fetus does not carry any defective alleles, while the fetus actually carries defective alleles, and the parents end up with a defected child. So we can have the termination of a healthy pregnancy or the unexpected birth of a child with a disorder. Something else to consider is the burden of decision. Embryo screening means that people have to make decisions about whether or not to terminate a pregnancy, and these are never easy decisions to make, especially since abortion is such a debate in our world right now. There are ethical questions, there are emotional barriers, and there are religious beliefs that make it such a controversial topic. And something very important to consider is the expenses, because screening is very expensive. And at the moment, it's limited to people who absolutely need it, like families with histories of a genetic disorder, or parents who are at the older end of the spectrum, so they are more at risk than younger parents of having children with genetic problems. However, people still think that every couple wanting to have a child should have these tests, because if they end up with a child that has these disorders, it might be even more expensive on the long run to maintain the life of this child, to provide the care and support for them. Not only on the parents, it's also expensive on the community. So this raises a lot of questions. There are also other ethical issues. Some people prefer to have their child the way their child is going to end up. They do not want to have to make decisions about whether to keep the child or not, or whether to try again with a different pregnancy. They prefer not to have these emotionally stressful decisions in their lives. And others are concerned that people who want these decisions will end up making what they call designer babies, which means babies with designed characteristics that are chosen by the parents and done by genetic engineering, like having a certain level of intelligence, a certain eye color, a certain sex. So these are the issues and concerns surrounding genetic screening. Take a moment to think about this topic and actually formulate your own opinions, since it is always good to have an opinion on controversial issues, especially when they are related to your own life and possibly in the future to your own children.